Brian's new home is rich in Archer's history. In fact, there's too much to cover in 2 minutes, so here is the first of two 2-minute histories of Blossom Hill Cottage. In 1952, Blossom Hill Cottage was rented from the Bellamy estate by the Irish thriller writer Mike Daly as a rural retreat. In one of the most bizarre storylines in the history of the Archers, Daly was accused by Reggie Trentham, the director of the Grey Gables Country Club, of being Major John Smith of the Army Pay Corps, who had been cashiered for embezzling funds. Trentham had met John Smith's former girlfriend, Valerie Grayson, and with her in tow he confronted Daly. Daly explained that in fact he was a spy who had been a prisoner in Dachau during the war and had escaped after a sympathetic German officer had certified him as being dead. Having Daly cashiered by the Pay Corps as Smith had been a ruse by MI6 to attract enemy agents, and Valerie, who was also an MI6 officer, had pretended to be his fiancée. This was apparently enough to satisfy Reggie, who ended up marrying Valerie. Not long afterwards, Mike Daly left the village. By 1958, Blossom Hill Cottage was being rented from the Bellamy estate by John Tregoran, who was having a hard time. One evening, Carol Gray found him drunk in the Bear Hotel in Borchester and took him home to the cottage, only to be spotted leaving at 1:30 in the morning by Charles Grenville's housekeeper, the mysterious Madame Garonne, who'd gossiped about this shocking behaviour. It later turned out that Madame Garonne was an international diamond smuggler. Carol Gray went on to marry Charles Grenville, and then, some years later after Charles's death, she married John Tregoran. Roger Travers Macy moved into Blossom Hill Cottage in the mid-60s, and after he married Jennifer in 1968, they lived there at the weekends, spending the week living in a flat above Featherstone's bookshop in Borchester. In 1989, Lillian Bellamy sold the Bellamy estate but retained Blossom Hill Cottage where her mother was living. While Peggy was there, the cottage suffered both a burglary and a fire, and in 1991, when Peggy married Jack Woolley, she moved out, leaving it empty. Later that year, Kate Aldridge and her gang, that's Helen Archer, Brenda Tucker and William Grundy, broke in and discovered letters dating back to the Second World War from Con Korchmar, an American GI, to Peggy. Kate forged a letter back from Peggy to Con, whereupon Con turned up in Ambridge, much to Peggy's embarrassment. Then, in the autumn of 1993, Lillian sold the cottage to Usher, who had decided to move out of Borchester and sample the joys of rural life.